Good evening and welcome to Athens City Council. It's Tuesday, September 8th, 2015. We're returning from our August recess, and so there will be a number of business items that we'll be taking care of that were from the last part of our session before the recess, or some of our meetings in July. Our first item of business is to establish a quorum. We have all members of City Council present tonight. The next item will be disposition of minutes. And we have these from our meetings held on July 13, 20, 27, 28, and 29 of 2015. And I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes, please.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes of these special and regular sessions held in July. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you. We'll now have communications from some council members and our elected officials. I do have two items to let people be aware of. One of them is that we will be having committee meeting on discussion of the pool on September 28th. Some of you may be here tonight to make comments on that. We do have a portion at the end of our council meeting to make a 3-minute statement on various items not covered on the agenda. You're more than welcome to stay, but I did want to let you know that another option for you is to return on September 28th when we'll be having full committee discussion. The other item is to let you know that something we've been working on for several years, and I think was Councilmember Butler's idea maybe originally, for student Senate members to meet with city council members, and we tried several times last year. The schedules never worked out. The new student Senate president has coordinated things, and council members will be meeting with the student Senate president, and also some of the leaders from off-campus housing and community life. So we're looking, and legislative areas. So we're looking forward to that. That's next Monday at noon. It will be at Baker Center. Other communications from other elected officials. Councilmember Reisner, I believe you had several things.
Yeah, I have three. I start out with two, and I got a last minute one. I'll start with the one that I just received a few moments ago. It was from constituent David E. Hardinger. Lives in the South Side, 2nd Ward. He writes that he is in favor of a indoor swimming pool instead of an outdoor pool, and he wants his note here read in council. I'm not going to read all of it, but just his opinion, and we acknowledge receipt of this and the fact that it's read here, and we will take it into consideration at a later date when we discuss about the pool. That's one thing down. Second is, I think all of council has received a letter from Dave Yost, Auditor of State, and it's good news. We've had a state audit of the city, and we have come in, well, I'd say in flying colors. There's no major findings. There are a few non-compliance findings, but it's absolutely nothing that can't be remedied with a few lines of text in our code or in our personnel manuals. All in all, it looks really good. I think a copy of it is now on the city website. Is that right?
I think we were going to put the link for the URL up there,
right,
so
okay.
and it is on the website.
So people can read it, but I think, well, I'd like to take some credit for this, or council would. It's our city auditor, Kathy Hatch, and her staff who brought all this forward, and I think they really need to be congratulated. It's a job well done, and the city comes out looking really good. So I think we should thank them. So thanks, Kathy Hatch, auditor. Good job. Okay, so that's down. And I've received some other communications concerning vacation accrual benefits from various concerned parties and other officials, both elected and non-elected. There's a lot of rumors and things going around, but I want everyone to know that the Finance and Personnel Committee will be taking this issue up October 12th in committee. There's been no deadline set. The only authority, the only body that can establish deadlines or anything of that type for benefits is council. Council has not made any recommendations. We have not passed any ordinances. We have not even taken it up in committee, which is where it has to begin. And we are going to take it up. We are going to go through it thoroughly. That'll be coinciding with the yearly non-union parameter settings that we do. We'll be looking at starting October 12th. The reason it's that date is it gives us some time to get some other documents together, and also we have a few other things that are coming in that we have to take care of, like our revision of the city income tax is coming up. We have to look at that. That's being driven by the state. So I want everybody who has any concern about it to know that we are on top of it, we are looking at it, and we are going to do something about it. But at the moment, there are no deadlines of any kind. So, anyone have anything to say about that? Council? Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's all I have in terms of communication.
Other council members for communications? Yes, Councilmember Butler.
Thank you. I'll just briefly echo that I too have received numerous letters from community members expressing concerns about the direction of the pool and advising us to take our time and really consider all angles. Thank you.
And Councilmember Pappy?
I echo what he said. I've received those letters as well.
Okay. And we have been making every effort to respond. And bear with us too. You might check our city website to make sure you're contacting us on our new email address. We're now part of the Gmail system for city council members. So, yes, Councilmember Patterson.
And I'm echoing the echoes of the echoes.
Okay.
It's, I think, 11 at last count. And I want the citizens to know they are being heard on their issues surrounding the pool. But also, please keep in mind that there's a lot more to that levy than the swimming pool. Okay.
Councilmember Cochran.
I would just add that I have similarly received many emails, but not just emails, but people approaching me at the farmer's market, out walking the dog, you know, in every instance, we're out there, we're listening, we realize, you know, this it's a tough situation. We're not going to be able to please everybody, but we are going to do our best to come up with a solution that does best meet the needs of this community. So we're still listening, and nothing's happening quite yet, but stay tuned.
And Councilmember Canterbury.
And I too, Kroger's and farmers market, anywhere you go, we're listening to the same things. And as Councilmember Steve Patterson had stated, that there was a lot of work put on that levy, and some of the things that I did in essence on the levy was the indoor pool. That's what we looked at, and that's what I talked whenever I was pushing it. That's what I talked about, because that's what the citizens seem to want. So we are listening, and we're going to continue to do that.
Great, thank you. Mayor Weil, do you have any communications?
Just a few. Hold on a second. First of all, just remind everybody, as you probably know, the JPAC cookout will be occurring later this month, so put it on your calendar. 30th, 6 to 8, in front of the Baker Center. Let's see. The other one is, we received this sometime last week. The library, Athens County Library, is looking at what are you looking for in the 21st century library. They're going to have a focus group, I believe, 8 a.m. Thursday, September 10th. That'll be this Thursday coming up, in Athens Public Library meeting room. And the reason why I mention it is because the library has been changing its structure, everything from a book a bike to the DVDs. So it would be worth to say where do we want to go from there. Other things, of course, is I probably won't be able to make this. I have my Regional Planning Commission, which will be occurring at the same time, just to let you guys know. Welcome back. That's another thing I have down here. Welcome back. But also a couple other things. One is that we put a bid out. We rebid the pumper truck, the old pumper truck. We did not get any substantial bids at the time. So that's out there. We'll get the date of it. That's coming up, I think, at the end of the month. The parking garage is used at any time up there during the day. The jackhammers are rolling and making the noise, and they're working away. I think they're at lower 5 right now. At least when I checked, it looks like the holes that they've been digging out of there. Richland Avenue, of course, is still rolling along. We're not done yet there, and the wastewater treatment plant as well. I think most of the paving for the streets for the year almost done, I believe. Maybe some crack sealing, but I think Elizabeth's still out there right now in terms of paving. Last time I checked, which was today, driving past it, looks like they're still done paving. But they might have done by the time I get back. And I think that's all I have, unless I missed something. No? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. And Law Director Elias,
No.
any reports or communications? Okay. By way of just a brief introduction to some people who are new to council tonight, on our first and third Monday nights, we have regular session, is what it's called, and so we'll have readings of ordinances, and then we have an opportunity at the end for citizens to communicate on other items that are not on the agenda. On the second and fourth Monday nights, we have committee meetings, and you might have heard Councilmember Reisner referring to that we'll be bringing forward some further discussion on vacation accruals, but that will not occur until our October committee meeting night. And then likewise for our pool discussion, the most of the discussion for that will be on September 28th. For the people who just came in the door right now, just to let you know that at the end of our council meeting tonight, we will have an opportunity, if you want to make a statement, for a 3-minute comment. And so that's fine. So our first items will be ordinances for second reading. And Ordinance 7515 is an ordinance banning parking and closing that portion of Court Street from Mulberry to Carpenter on October 31st and November 1, 2015, in anticipation of a large number of people converging on downtown Athens for Halloween weekend. And this is introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you, President Nisley. There's no new information.
Okay. Ordinance 7615 is an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code Section 13.04.1, unnecessary noise, for scheduled bandstand performances hosted by the Clean and Safe Halloween Committee on October 31st and November 1, 2015, Halloween weekend, introduced by Councilmember Pappy. Ordinance 7715 is an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting, to allow vending in a designated area on October 31st and November 1, Halloween weekend. Once again, introduced by Councilmember Pappy. Our ordinances for first reading, and I do believe we have somebody here to make a comment tonight on one of these. So when they come up for the first reading, then we sometimes have discussion. Also then at the final reading on the third reading of ordinances. So our ordinances for first reading. The first one is 8215, and this is an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street on Monday, October 26, 2015, from 5 to 7:30 p.m. for Trick or Treat, hosted by the Athens Uptown Business Association, introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you. This is a Uptown Business Association sponsored event, which has been fairly well attended over the last few years, and a portion of the street is closed for that, and that's what this ordinance is suggesting. We do have someone here to speak about that, if you'd like to come forward and sign in.
So we just ask that you print your name, and then when you've done that, to actually then speak your name and address.
Sorry, your pen doesn't.
Why don't you send one on down there? Is there a second there? Okay. And then if you will, that way we have your name, printed name for the record. And then if you speak your name and address, then we also have that for the television audience, because this is taped. And you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and there will be a green, then a yellow, then a red light that will appear to let you know that when the 3 minutes is up.
My name is Barbara Stout. I live at 954 East State Street in Athens. and I am the owner of Athens Underground, which is located at 90 North Court Street in Athens. And I'm here to beg you not to have this trick-or-treat night on the Monday before the block party. I'm begging you not to do this, to move it to the Monday after. And I know the city requested it, and here's the reason. I have no choice but to close my business. The street is so crowded, I can't have children going down the stairs into my business. And so I have to close, and I will have to close several hours early. The Monday before Halloween, if you know anything about my business, I'm a Halloween-dependent business. It has been a rough year. The Monday before Halloween, traditionally, I will make as much money as I made in the entire month of June. It is a significant, significant loss of business to me. And just as a side note, I lost an entire day's worth of business because of Brew Week. I had to close down because the stage was in front of my business with a speaker not as far away from me as Councilmember Pappy is right now, and it was physically painful. The music was so loud. I lost an entire Saturday's worth of business. There are 5 different things going on. I mean, we've got International Student, we've got Boogie on the Bricks, we've got Brew on the Bricks, we've got Halloween, and now we've got this trick-or-treating. And I will say that I love little kids in costumes. I'm all for it. I will give money to an event, the event that is out at the community center. But this event, and I've watched it and I've participated in the last 5 years, increasingly there is an element coming in, and you can ask anybody who has a business on Court Street, a small but significant element of people that it's not nice. I came this close to calling 911 last year because 2 parents got into a fight in front of my store. It's people, teenagers coming up with shopping bags, not even in a costume. It costs hundreds of dollars. You can go through hundreds and hundreds of dollars of candy in 20 minutes. It doesn't do anything to promote our business, and it's killing my business. It will be a very significant loss in sales, a significant loss in income to me. And because I don't really have a choice other than to close down because of the traffic issues and the crowding, you know, and all day long because the parking's cut off from like noon on. So it's impacting it, and from 5 on, there's no business. It's done. So please, I don't think it's necessary to have it because you have something else going on, but if you're going to have it, please have it Monday after the block party, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So this happened, I believe, at the end of, in July. And there was some discussion, and I didn't know, there was the discussion of the Monday after, and then there was this date today that's in the ordinance.
That is correct. At our request to AUBA, then reconsidered, they had it down for November 2nd. We asked to have Halloween all in 1 week. It would be overly Halloween as it were. I have reached back out to the chamber, and they indicated that they were fine with it, October 26th date. They meet again, but they won't meet for about another week, I think, here in September.
Well, we are at first reading, so there is some time either to make an amendment or further discussion on this. Councilmember.
Laura did come to see me, and one thing you stated was even on Halloween, which is the 31st, the big one, that the roadway's closed, but you rely on pedestrian traffic. She did express quite a bit of dismay at this event as a whole.
Member Cochran.
Can I ask if Ms. Stout has had this discussion with AUBA?
In the past, and they moved it to Monday after, at my request. And that's where it was last Halloween, and I just found out about it being moved forward. It was at my request, begging them to move it till after the block party.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we have some information we need to pull together here and maybe talk to president of AUBA at this point, and others, and see where we are. Again, this is first reading tonight, so we are not taking a vote. Okay? Thank you for coming.
Okay. We'll move on to the next ordinance, and this is 8315. This is an ordinance for first reading. An ordinance amending the 2015 appropriation ordinance 120-14 and ordinance 130-14, authorizing right-of-way acquisition, construction, and construction engineering of a bike path from Armitage to Columbus Road, known as Project 270, and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you. We have some updated information for council regarding this project. And we also need to move to suspend this evening as well. We have received a bid that is in review, under review, and we've also received an additional $600,000. In order to move forward with this as quickly as we can, I do move to suspend.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to suspend for purposes of being able to take advantage of or meet grant guidelines and also construction and engineering deadlines. All those in favor for suspension? Oh, yes.
The original bid was 1.4 million, right?
Tell you what, let's take a motion. Let's take a motion, the vote on the motion to suspend first, and then we'll open it up when we have the motion to approve. All those in favor of suspending the rules for ordinance 8315? In favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, the rules are suspended. And now, would you like to make a motion to?
I move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to, and a second to adopt ordinance 8315, and it sounds like we have some additional comments. So, Councilmember Canterbury?
Yeah. Lisa just showed me the paper she had asked, but I guess the original bid came in at 1.4 million. That was the engineer's estimate, was 1.4 million. And when the bids was opened, it came in at 2.4 million, so it was $1 million over. So the explanation that was given at that time, and I think our service safety director gave it, was that the projects, the company that put the bid together wanted to split the bids, that they didn't really want the bridge side, or they didn't really want the earthwork side. So I'm not sure which way they wanted it, but so I guess what happened, Andy refigured his bid so that, because ODOT gives us $600,000.
It's the third time we bid it.
We went back to our design engineering firm, John Stuckey, who also did the Oxbow Bridge. And they cranked numbers and they came up with a higher engineer's estimate. Then Andy essentially went and fell on his sword to ODOT seeking any unused funds in order to gain that additional back here. And it looks like this has been successful based on the dollar amounts you might think you have those, Michelle.
1.8. We have 1.8 million in grant funds. The overall project is listed at 2.3, and we've already, at this point, we've already appropriated money, and at this point, Andy believes that we're flat. We're not going to need any more appropriations with the $600,000 that's coming in from ODOT.
So what increase did our share
funds.
happen?
I'm sorry, Mike. From local funds, meaning that additional money is coming from the grant funds.
And he was able to procure another $600,000. We did split the bid, earthwork versus bridges.
The second time.
The second time. We did it first time, we split it, came in high again. The third time, we just, again, got extra money. We put it together third time, and we haven't, the project design and engineering they haven't looked at the numbers, but some actually went to split. Actually, some of them came in saying as a total package is X amount. Some of the other split bids were actually, earthwork and bridges, and it might be a combination of the two. Doing it separately might be cheaper. It's up to actually Jessica Dine and Andy to actually vet that and find out if all the numbers make sense. But again, it's not going to cost us too much more. I thought it was going to cost us a little bit more.
I did too, but in our discussion of transportation meeting today, because they're actually coming in under the revised engineer's estimate. So and we're trying to meet deadlines for grants.
They have to be used or used.
I recall the ODNR grant funding. is-
June of 16 has to be spent, and for the contractor, December of 16.
To be able to, begin construction this fall.
Does that answer your questions, Mike?
Somewhat, yeah.
There was concern early on with, yes, additional local funds, but it seems that that's been worked out.
We had a series of alternates too, depending on where we get the earthwork moving material. As far as I know, they did not go for the alternate bids. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, that's correct.
They went with the straight, haul the dirt in and move the earth. As I said, it's kind of surprised it's a little bit lower than before, but it could just be the seasonality of it, or the fact that they were looking at it more realistically. They came back, and I'd say it's the third time we've done this. So we're getting there.
Apparently, construction has picked up as well with contractors, so they aren't bidding as routinely as we may have thought a couple years ago as well. So we do have a bid.
And Councilmember Canterbury, am I understanding that maybe you have a question about the total project cost
How much more is
increasing?
going to increase the county or the city share?
Oh, okay, okay.
It's not
So
going to.
apparently it
It's
is not, okay,
Not anticipated.
okay.
At this time.
Well, I always have to use, carry that in my pocket in case all of a sudden they come up against something that increases that contractor.
You don't change
Contracted for years.
That's why I'm asking these questions, because I didn't allow that. We had a bid, and that's how it went. So, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for the questions.
Thank
And
you.
the additional information from the city.
I was not at the Transportation Committee meeting this morning, but I think that was discussed. It was on the agenda, right?
Yes, it was discussed thoroughly.
Councilmember Butler.
Yes, and I was in attendance at the meeting as well as Councilmember Cochran. I just want to express my support for this ordinance and a reminder to everyone that this goes back to our pedestrian bicycle master plan, which has been vetted a number of years ago, hired professional consultants to help guide us through the process, and this works right into the guidelines and direction that we're looking at with enhancing pedestrian thorough and bicycle thoroughfares. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 8315. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 8415 is an ordinance authorizing water stabilization repairs to the armory and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Patterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Some of you remember this coming forward a few months back. It's back again with some revision, but regardless, this is authorizing the Service Safety Director to accept bids for the weatherization stabilization, water stabilization repairs to the armory, as well as to expend up to $82,500 from the Capital Improvement Fund, Lands and Buildings, which is $580, TC 500 for such repairs moving forward. And this would include things such as retucking the entire building envelope, which is much needed. We're about ready to go back into, you wouldn't know it today, but we're about ready to go back into winter, the freeze thaw, and so on and so forth. And as with the mortar between the bricks of the armory in some places in pretty sad shape. This is much needed to, again, protect the records that are stored in that building, but just to preserve this historic building that sits at the end of Court Street.
All right.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'll point out that we are working, moving forward with a second round of grants to look at the feasibility of what to use it for. Will not be in my chairman's office, as well as the EPA evaluation. So we've got actually 2 grants in training for this. Package to maintain the, which is actually, as I said, cornerstone, or I guess an end, bookend of Court Street, I guess.
Our gem.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to ordinance 8515. It's an ordinance amending the 2015 appropriation ordinance introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe there's a need to suspend for this ordinance, is that? Or no?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
And the reasons,
Part of the transportation assistant part of
okay.
And I did hear that, yes, there were some salaries involved, so.
All right.
Yes, there are salaries.
Then I move to suspend for the reasons stated by the mayor and the service safety director.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for ordinance 8515. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Okay, the rules are suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. This ordinance moves some funds around. I'll just read through it quickly for the record. 2015 Appropriation Ordinance 0120-14 is hereby amended by appropriating from the unappropriated balance the following sums: $20,000 to Tourist Fund, $108,500 to Transportation Assistance Fund, $500 to Community Corrections Grant Fund, $10,000 to DUI Court Grant Fund, $60,000 to Community Center Debt, $23,000 to Armory Fund, $47,979.85 to FEMA Fund, $120,000 to Medical Fund 866. Section 2, the auditor is hereby authorized to make the following intra-fund transfers from Community Center Debt 470 to Community Center 271, $60,000. FEMA Grant 588 to General Fund 101, $47,979.85. That's it.
And we do need a motion
And
to
I
adopt.
make a motion to adopt 8515.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of 8515. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. We now have announcements and other business. One of those items being the motion to accept the auditor's July 2015 financial reports.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second for approval of the auditor's financial reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. And we have a few other announcements, I think, from Councilmember Patterson.
Thank you. I have a couple announcements, actually three. I just want to kind of reiterate something that the mayor brought forward in communications, which again is the Joint Police Advisory Council barbecue. As was mentioned, September 30th, but the rain day is the following day is October 1. So please come out in force and meet and greet our law enforcement, our police officers from all entities, sheriffs. I think the state highway department, highway patrol comes as well as Ohio University Police Department and Athens Police Department. It's a great event, the second year running. My second announcement is on September 16th, so right around the corner at 7 p.m., an individual, Dan Butner, who is one of the authors behind what's called the Blue Zones. I would encourage people to look that up, the Blue Zones Project, which is a healthy lifestyle for municipalities, states, and whatnot across the nation. He's going to be a keynote speaker coming in, kind of bookending the front end of Live Healthy Appalachia, which is coming up as well. That will be held at Glidden Hall, again at 7 p.m., and is open to the public and is free. The third item that I wanted to mention briefly is the MOU that exists between the Commission on Disabilities as well as PACDAP, the President's Advisory Council on Disabilities, has teamed up making October ADA 25 for the 25th anniversary. There's several events, one in which Mayor Weil and President McDavis will be speaking, kind of kicking off the event October 6th on the patio of Memorial Auditorium, Memod, on campus. I believe that's noon, if I'm not mistaken. Help me out, Mayor.
So,
Okay, stay tuned on that one. But it'll be talking about past, present, and future when it comes to ADA. And there's a number of events throughout that month as well that'll be taking place, and we'll keep you posted on some of the other events where PACDAP and the Commission on Disabilities are working together to kind of flesh out that monthly calendar of events. So please, if you can, attend any and all of those events. think you'll learn a lot in each one of them. That's all I have.
And for council committee meetings next week, do we have any committees that need to meet? Planning and Development? Finance and Personnel?
I'm sure City and Safety Service will have to meet.
Okay, City and Safety Service. Okay. All right. And now we have an opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items, and city service is not covered on the agenda. And so we've gone through a little bit of the procedures earlier this evening. If you just want to speak, then we ask you to come up to the podium to print your name, and then to announce also for the cameras so that we have your name and address. And then would like you to observe the 3-minute limit, so we give everybody in the room who wants to speak tonight an opportunity to do that. And then the one last note is that several of you might have comments that are similar to others who have spoken tonight. And we encourage you to come speak, but you can be brief in affirming what you've said, somewhat like council members tonight were saying, the ditto or I agree with the previous statement. That will save some time. And you will notice when you come up to the podium that there's signals. So there's a green light for go, the yellow, and then the red, just like the traffic signal. And then there is a buzzer that will sound too, so not to be alarmed by that. So, Mr. Shostak.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm Robert Shostak. I'm a mostly retired lawyer here in town. I get called out from time to time by former friends and clients and others. It's nice to see a lot of friendly faces and people I've known over the years. I'm here on behalf of Joe Cantor, a longtime employee of the city who works at the lab. I understand he's been there for many years, close to retirement, probably 2 or 3 years away. And he works there with another gentleman, Bill, whom I've met, and both of them are amusing folks to talk to. If you've had a chance to go to the lab, they seem to enjoy their work greatly. By the way, I get more time by the Supreme Court of the United States than I do with this council. That doesn't make any sense, does it? I think I have an issue with council, and I do appreciate what you've said so far with regard to the artificial deadline created by Auditor Hecht, October the 3rd of this year, as the time when she was meant to eliminate all excess vacation time. I've heard it called bank time, I've heard it called excess time, accrued time. It's the amount of excess vacation time that an employee of the city has after the 3 years or so that they're entitled to carry over and for which they get paid when they leave the city. That's my understanding. In my memo to all of you by email, I called it bank time because that's essentially what it is. These employees, especially Mr. Cantor, who I've talked to, bank this time for those contingencies in the future that may arise, which are unforeseen. Or if they're fortunate enough not to have to deal with some health issue or other issue with a family member, they can use the time in some other productive manner. Nonetheless, these are the folks that are dedicated to their jobs because they don't take their time, they work. This ridiculous memo from the deputy auditor, or wherever she was, took punishment and meted it out to those folks that were most dedicated to their jobs. Council needs to look at that issue. Today, I think council needs to take an appropriate measure, because notwithstanding what Jennifer Galbraith said and what this council has said in discussions earlier, there is no deadline one way or the other. You need to put a stay in effect to stop any potential action by the mayor, by the auditor, so that these folks are not in limbo, not knowing where they are. There's no legal effect from Jennifer. I'm not going to pay attention to that. There's no legal effect that Jennifer Galbraith's statement in the memo that I read, where she talked about frequently asked questions. I guess that's the modern way of doing things. You need to pass an ordinance. You need to recognize that this is an issue, And you need to pass an ordinance that everything with regard to this issue is stayed until you decide what to do with it.
Thank you.
In that case,
Thank you.
no one will be at risk. Because it is an unspoken, customary practice of this city, and so anything could happen. All I'm asking is that you treat the employees well. Thank you. I'm sorry I went over my time.
Thank you. Do we have someone else who'd like to come up and speak? Okay. Any other citizens who would like to take a moment they have 3 minutes if you'd like to. It can be on another topic. You can make the comment. It's not a night for discussion or for us answering questions, just so you know. Okay. Thank you, Martha. Come on up.
I understand that most of the comments for the city pool will be on September 28th, and there'll be time for discussion on that night. Is that correct?
That's correct. And Martha, could you announce your name and address so
I'm
people
sorry.
know
I'm
it?
Martha Bishop, and I live at 30 Courier Street in Athens, and I'm a taxpayer in the city of Athens. And I just wanted to say a couple of things. I would just like to ask you to continue to consider alternative plans to the plan that we have seen so far for the city pool, and that the public be shown the alternative plans that are under consideration besides the one that was published in the paper, so that we understand maybe before September 28th what might be considered as far as a new pool is concerned. I would like to see that any new pool that was made allowed as much space for all of the different uses of the pool as the current pool does. And I feel that the plan that has been presented will serve some factions of pool users a lot more than others. So if you could take that under consideration. The taxpayers voted to build a pool and not a water park. We already have a water park in our county. And maybe we could have some water features, but we'd like to definitely have as much pool as we have now. Swimming, I think, is an essential life skill. It saves people's lives if they know how to swim. Exercise for all members of our community is something that we should promote. And I think the facility should encourage exercise for fun and not just entertainment. So thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else who'd like to speak tonight? Okay. City council members will be going into executive session, and so in a moment we'll be having a motion to do that. And what that means is that everyone will need to leave the council chamber. In order to allow enough time, a few moments for members of the press or other people who have come here tonight to attend, if they might have a few comments for council members or questions of council or city administration. We'll take a break of 5 minutes before we go into, from the time we adjourn and go into executive session. So you will have 5 minutes after we make this motion. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for 2 issues. One is pending litigation, and the second is for collective bargaining.
And the council and the people to be included in that discussion will be
All members of council, president of council, the mayor, the service safety director, the law director, of course.
Okay. All right, and we do take a voice vote on this to go into executive session. So starting with Councilmember Butler.
Aye.
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 Hi.
All right, the motion is approved. And what we will do, we'll have this 5 minutes now. We will go into executive session. I'm not sure how long that will be. People are welcome to wait in the hallways behind the closed doors if they want to, if they have further discussion items, because we will open the doors after the executive session to adjourn.